In the Cat Kingdom, the Cat King was standing on a balcony, staring at the view right outside the kingdom. Joseph looked noticeably different because of his outfit. He was wearing an Eggman Empire uniform to show his support for the Doctor. As he was looking at the scenery, he remained hopeful to find his daughters and have them be his servants for part of the Eggman Empire. One of his royal minions, Marcus, the cat, came out of the hall to tell him the news. "Your Highness," Mark asked, bowing his head. Joseph turned around to look at him. "Yes, Marcus, yes? We've been searching all around the world for your daughters," Marcus said. Not long after he responded, the cat sisters entered the room. "I went to Mazori," Kate said, "and it was hot." She then caused her fan to cool herself. "I went to Haluska," Jessica said. "It was extremely cold." She was shivering like a cold in the cold environment. "And I went to Adabat," Samantha said. "It was so much water and I hate water." She was squeezing her hair to get water off of it. "And I went to Chunon," Marcus said. "While I was there, I had some delicious meat buns, and I enjoyed the meat buns from Chow Man." Joseph was not all interested with the updates his minion told. "That's nice," he said, rolling his eyes. "But did you find my daughters?" Marcus, Katie, and Jessica and Samantha all looked at each other. They were too nervous to tell the truth to their master, so they remained silent. "Answer my question," Joseph said. He was about to lose his patience. "Did you find any of my daughters?" Well, they were still unsure what to tell Joseph about the main subject, but Katie stepped in and said, "We're sorry to say this, but..." Jessica defended her sister and continued, "The fact of the matter is we didn't find your daughters," Samantha blurted out. The wrath of fury began to grow within the Cat Queen. "You did not find my daughters?" he yelled. "No, Your Honor," Marcus admitted. "We did not find your daughters." As Joseph was about to scream and holler at the top of his lungs, Marcus the cat and his sisters backed away and embraced themselves, just as before he let out a sigh before he could speak. "Do you know why I agreed to join the Eggman Empire?" he asked. "It was to find my daughters, so I could have them be my slaves forever." "And what do you know about it?" His minions then looked at each other, not daring to answer him. "We just didn't find them," Samantha admitted. Her older sister covered her mouth before she could speak. "That's correct," Joseph said, sweetly. "Now you know what that means?" "We get free jewelry?" Katie asked. Joseph laughed his ass off at the thought of the joke, so they laughed along with the king. "That's funny," he laughed, but Joseph blurted in anger, "No!" He then shouted and his minions stopped laughing and slowly backed away from him. "You have failed your mission." "Your Majesty," Jessica said, "we're sincerely sorry we disappointed you." "You didn't disappoint me," Joseph said. "You infuriate me, and I cannot take having any of you for laying around my castle, napping on the job. Not wasting my time." Joseph whistled, and all four Eggman fighters came into the room. "Who are these guys?" Samantha asked. "These are Dr. Eggman fighters," Joseph explained. "They will be watching you as you continue to search for your daughters." "That's not fair," Samantha complained. "You may think this is unfair, but this is for your own good," Joseph stated. "Now I want you to take your fellow robots with you as you go out of the castle. Do not forget to keep an eye out for Lavinia or Katerina, as well as anyone else who would escort them. But I may need my daughters most of all. Now go on! Get going!" With that being said, Marcus the cat and the sisters left the room, with the Eggman fighters in tow. They frustrated and angry at the news. Joseph stormed into his bedroom and sat down on his bed. Then he decided to look into his diary for a shameful ship to nostalgia. Over the years of being married to Lavinia and Katerina's mother, he wrote his dreams about having a son who would treat him like right. However, as soon as his daughters were born, his dreams of having a son were crushed. Since Joseph could not attend to any special events overseeing the hatred towards Lavinia, he also hated Katerina because she was his daughter as well. But he did not see her since she was a baby. But this abomination leaned forward to Lavinia, since she was his firstborn daughter. When he found out his wife was dying by NIDS, Joseph decided to care for her and Lavinia, for even though that she truly loved her daughters. Lucy thought that she would forgive her for giving birth to them. But by the time she died, Joseph showed his hatred towards Lavinia by stripping her royal status from princess to maid, as he thought he was proud of himself for making his daughter a slave. Joseph also wanted Katerina to become a slave as well, but since that she was under the care of Nancy, there was nothing he could do for her. On the final page, he saw a picture familiar to the figure that he drew automatically before joining the Eggman Empire. It was Aoife the cat. The king was missing by stealing Lucy's necklace before it was passed to Lavinia. There must have been some connection between him and Ethan. Regardless, Joseph closed up the book and decided to go to the spell room where he and his crystal ball were located. There he took the scepter that was drawing towards it. Joseph began to swear vengeance for his daughters and for Ethan's sudden disappearance, and crushed his dreams for being the perfect kingdom that belonged for. He was really furious. He wanted to get what he deserved, and that was going to come to him soon. In the mystic ruins, Sonic and his friends continued their way to the temple, but after a few minutes of walking, they decided to take a break. "Man, my feet are killing me," Cassia groaned, feeling her feet. "Your feet aren't the only ones that are hurting me, mate," Marine said. "My feet hurt twice as much as your feet, guys," Sonic bragged. He was just joking since his feet were not too sore. "I feel like we've been walking for a long time," Vector said, stretching his arms a bit. "I need something soft to lay down on," Big said in an instant. Big took out a big rock and gathered some leaves, and afterwards they lay down on the rock, let out a sigh of relief. But it was only for a short time, because he ended up falling off and onto the ground. Even though he wasn't badly hurt, he said, "Owie." As soon as everyone began to laugh at the cat, Big began to laugh too. All of a sudden, Silver froze in terror with his eyes open. His girlfriend Blaze, the cat, took notice and shock on his face, so she needed to check up on him to see if he was alright. "Sir, are you alright, Silver?" Blaze asked. She then placed his hand on her hand on his shoulder. He didn't even bother to move. Blaze then had a feeling that Silver must be zooming out. "Silver, what is it?" she asked. The white hedgehog was silent for a moment or two, not before turning his head to look at his girlfriend. But when he began to speak, he said, "Eggmans Robots." Blaze wasn't sure what he was talking about, but Silver immediately turned to look at her. "They're hot on our tail," he said. "Eggman must have sent them to distract us." "Are you sure about this, hun?" Blaze asked. "I suppose that your sense of the doctor is right, Silver Boy," Rouge said jokingly. The psychic hedgehog gave them a treasure-hunting, serious, stern look. "You can be sarcastic and roll your eyes all you want, Rouge," Silver snapped, "but this is a serious job and is futuristic hedgehog. And of course, that is a futuristic dance," Jet laughed, and then his teammates Wave and Storm began to laugh at the remark, and Silver took a Babylon Rouge's with them with the same facial expression he gave to Rouge. "Well, maybe you shouldn't be so quick and jumped into conclusions with your extreme gears and birdies," he then said, but before he knew it, the Babylon Rouges got roasted. "You just got burned, Jet," Sonic said, laughing at the hawk. While that was going on, Katarina began to froze in terror. Her twin sister Lavinia took notice of it and went in to her side. "Katarina, are you okay?" she asked. Katarina did not respond. She just stood there with her eyes wide open. "Guys, I think she's zooming out," Lavinia announced. This caught everyone's attention, mostly Sonic, as he began to get worried for his foster sister's well-being. "What's wrong with her?" SBO asked. "I don't know," Lavinia answered. As soon as she hurried to Katarina, Sonic said, "Katarina, what's the matter?" "Here, let me see if I can talk to her," Silver said. He walked over towards Katarina and shook her hand. "Katarina, are you okay?" Silver asked. The black of the cat looked as if she was some sort of trance, but when she got the chance to speak, "Katarina, it's Eggmans Robots." Uts, she said. "What the?" Boken asked. "The doctor's robots?" "Talk about bad news, but what about them?" Silver asked. Katarina grabbing hold of the psychotic hedgehog's head before they spoke. "Before Eggman's robots were planning to take me and Lavinia away," she answered. "They were sent by our dad. We need to stop them before they get the chance." "No worries, Katarina," Victor said confidently. "We'll take down Eggman's robots one by one." Shadow hushed the others so they could listen closely. "You hear that?" he whispered. As soon as they get everyone to listen carefully, they heard the sound of heavy footsteps. "That must be one of them," Boken whispered. "Well, it's time for me to take them down," Sonic said. And with that said, everyone got into their fighting poses. As soon afterwards, the robots began marching down towards the heroes. "Okay, let's go," Sonic announced. Then everyone began to fight with the robots. Sonic, Shadow, SBO, and Jet performed their corning attacks against the robots. Amy used her Pico hammer to smash them into bits. Everyone else was either punched the machines or kicked them away. Lavinia then wiped away her hair from the robot's wrists and swirled around and tossed it at the tree. After seeing her sister performing that stunt, Katarina wrapped her hair on the robot's wrist, and Lavinia then swung at it with her hair in the wrist. And she also wrapped her own hair around the robot's wrist. "You ready, little sis?" she asked. "Ready, big sis." Katerina responded. They swirled the robot around and tossed him towards another robot that had been tossed away by Tangle's tail. Woo, we did it, Tangle announced. Nice job on your end, girls. The lemur gave the cat twins thumbs up, and they gave her the thumbs up in return. All of a sudden, Lavinia saw that Katerina's necklace begin to grow. She gasped at the sight of it, and the flash started with Lavinia placed after her father and her father's friends to sleep. After the fur in the eyes went back normal, she then looked at her necklace was glowing. She began to feel scared that she didn't know what to do, which is why Lavinia had to run away. She couldn't hurt anybody. Katerina took notice of the shocked expression. Lavinia? She asked. Raverick just explained Lavinia ran away. Lavinia, wait! Katerina called. While everyone else was fighting the robots, Katerina then took this as an opportunity to run after her sister. Lavinia then began to feel that she just ran a marathon, so she stopped to catch her breath. When it was Katerina who finally caught up to her sister. Lavinia, what's wrong? She asked. Why did you run away like that? It was your necklace, Lavinia said, gasping forever. My necklace? Katerina asked her necklace and looked at it. What about it? Lavinia then looked at her sister's necklace, only to see it wasn't glowing anymore. It was nothing, she said. Are you sure? Katerina asked. Because if you're worried about something, you can tell me. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and the rest of the friends. Yeah, sure, Lavinia reassured her sister. I'm sorry that I got you worried. It's okay, Lavinia, Katerina said. It's just that you need to be more careful and be more open more. Not to mention about being honest with something that's bothering you. Just then, Lavinia looked rather surprised by a familiar sight. Katerina, she said. What's up, Lavinia? Katerina asked. Look at where we are, Lavinia said, pointing Katerina in her sister's direction. Before they knew it, they found themselves at a temple. Whoa, Katerina said. She was amazed at a tremendous, fascinating sight. They made it to the temple. The cat twins celebrated with glee, while they all sharing with the biggest sister hug. That was a temple that they have seen. That voice was telling me last night, Lavinia stated. Who told you about it? Katerina asked. I don't know, Lavinia said, placing her head on her hand. Well, of course, I could have sworn that it must have been a voice from my mother. The same thought went to Katerina as well. Do you think we should check it out? She asked. Lavinia then turned to look at her sister before she gave her a smirk. For old time's sake, she asked. For old time's sake, Katerina answered, smiling at them to laugh before they go into their marks. Get ready, Lavinia said, and Katerina nodded down. The last one at the top is a rotten egg. With that being said, they began to run up the stairs leading to the temple's entrance. Approximately a minute later, Lavinia and Katerina finally reached the top of the staircase. They were about out of breath from all the way running up the stairs. They didn't know who went up first. Who made it up first? Katerina asked, gasping for breath. Me or you? As soon as she got her breath, Lavinia answered, I think it's neck and neck to me. You might be right on that, Katerina agreed. Once they managed to catch their breath, they saw the entrance to the temple. Okay, so how are we gonna get inside? Katerina asked. I don't know, Lavinia said. After giving much thought, she finally said, maybe there's some sort of switch for the door. Confidently, Lavinia stepped into with the button and was on the floor, causing the temple to lift open. Meanwhile, Sonic and the gang had just destroyed the last of Eggman's robots. Phew, good riddance, Knuckles said. I just hope I never have to do that again, Jules said, after dusting the dirt off of her dress. Cassia was so out of breath that she then landed on the ground with her hands on her knees. At that moment, Amy decided to check on her. Cassia, are you okay? She asked. Cassia looked up at the pink hedgehog before she spoke. Yeah, I'm okay, she answered. It's just fighting the doctor's robots is so tiring. In reality, Cassia knew that she was getting a little weak because she couldn't get her treatment for her cybernetics earlier that day. You sure about this, Cassia? Cream asked. I'm sure, I'm positive, Cassia said, reassuring the young rabbit. It's nothing too serious. Okay, well then, Amy said. Sonic then took notice of his sisters not being present this time. Guys, he asked, where's Lavinia and Katerina? Seems like they ran off, Tails answered. It looks like we better find them, mates, Marine stated. All of a sudden, everyone fell to the ground was shaking, and it felt like an earthquake. They felt that the world was... What was that? Cosmo asked. I think it's coming from the temple, Rouge answered. Maybe they're already there, Sonic said. Come on. Everyone started to dash their way to the Mystic Ruins temple. Meanwhile, the door finally opened, revealing the entrance to be inside the temple. Whoa! Lavinia and Katerina said in illusion. They looked at each other before deciding on who should lead the way inside. You want to go first? Lavinia asked. Well, you dreamt about this temple last night, so you're the oldest, Katerina said, pointing out the facts. You should go first. Not wanting to give the argument suggestion that her sister made, Lavinia walked inside the temple. As for Katerina, she followed right behind her. They quietly stepped into the temple. But they began to hear a loud creak. "What was that?" Lavinia asked, turning around to look at her sister. "That was the floor creaking," Katerina answered. At this point, Lavinia began to feel skeptical. "How can we feel the floors make so much noise in a place like this?" she said. "I don't know," Katerina said, shrugging at her soldiers. Then they noticed something else wrong. "Hey, Lavinia," Katerina asked, "you didn't notice this step was strong as the rest?" "Yeah," Lavinia responded. "Does that mean it's—" Before Lavinia could finish her sentence, the top floor gave away and they fell right through it, screaming their heads off. It was a trapdoor. Not long after that, her friends rushed up to the stairs that lead to the temple's entrance. "Lavinia! Katerina!" Sonic called. "Are you in there?" He then turned to see the rest of his friends. "Alright guys, stay together," he said. Everyone entered the table, calling for Lavinia and Katerina. "What if we don't find them?" Bookun said. He was growing worried for his surrogate sisters. "No need to worry, Bookun," Charmy said. "We will find them in no time." They all walked upon the particular floor, the step the cat twins fell through, and began to take notice of its weakness. "Hey, you guys," Storm said. "Do you notice that this step isn't as strong as the rest?" "Oh no!" Tails exclaimed. "What's up, Tails?" Sonic asked. Tails answered, "I think it is." Before the young fox could finish his sentence, the trapdoor opened and everyone fell right through it, screaming their heads off. Around that time, Lavinia and Katerina slid all the way down the slide and they bumped into sharp turns, and they swirled down the curves and fell right on the floor from the wall. They landed on a pretty hard floor, ending the ride. Miraculously, neither of them were seriously injured. "You okay, little sis?" Lavinia asked. "Yeah, I think so," Katerina answered. They got up from the floor to see that they were in a strange room. "Big sis, where in the neck are we?" Katerina asked. "I don't know," Lavinia said. "Besides, it's too dark." She was right. The room was dark and it was hard for them to see. "There's gotta be a switch light somewhere," Katerina said. They decided to search for a light or a switch or something to shield themselves from the lights in the room. While this was happening, they heard someone scream and it was pretty loud. They also heard some groaning. Before they knew it, it was from their friends. They confidently found the same trapdoor Lavinia and Katerina fell through. They looked at each other with awkwardness in their eyes. Sonic and his friends were piled up like a dirty pile of clothes. However, they weren't seriously hurt. "Ow!" Silver exclaimed. "Somebody punched me in the arm." "Sorry," Jet said. "I thought you were the wave." This dropped by this wave, then gasped and hit someone in the head. "Ouch! What was that for?" Sonic shouted. Sorry about that," Wave said. "I thought you were Jet." "Hey, Blaze, why don't you use your hypnosis to give us some light?" Rouge suggested. "I don't use my powers unless I'm fighting," Blaze said. "But in this case, I'm willing to make an exception." Within the matter of seconds, a little flame appeared on Blaze's hands. Once in the room for a moment, Sonic got up from the ground and saw his sisters. "Lavinia, Katerina," he exclaimed. He then ran up towards them and embraced them. "You girls okay?" "Yeah," Sonic asked. "Yeah, we're okay," Katerina said. "Sorry we ran off," Lavinia admitted. "No worries," Sonic said. "What matters is that you weren't seriously injured." Everyone else got up from the floor and looked around the room. "Where are we?" Amy asked. No one seemed to have a clue. Luckily, Lavinia saw a shrine that was right on the right from the side of the bridge. Above the water. "Hey guys," she called. "Look over there." The others can look at Lavinia's direction and saw the ancient ruin. Katerina's eyes flew open wide. "It's an ancient ruin," she said. "That's the one that Talca told us about," Lavinia said. Then she immediately ran across the bridge to make her way to the ancient ruin, whereas the rest of the gang followed suit. Once she made it to the shrine, Lavinia then kneeled down on one knee for the inscriptions. However, the writings that were so confusing sent to her since she never saw a real-life shrine in her whole life. "What does it say, Lavinia?" Katerina asked. "I can't tell," Lavinia answered. "Let me see if I can read it," Knuckles said. He crouched down and began to read the inscriptions. It said, "To those who have the mystic melody power are able to resurrect his or her loved one." It's so said, if the one who has resurrected his or her loved one has come undone, then they'll be able to pray to Taka and Chaos to bring them back to life. "See if you can have the mystic melody, Lavinia," Katerina said. At first, Lavinia was unsure about using her power, but once her friends encouraging her to do so, she decided to go. "Okay, here goes," Lavinia said, summoned up the transverse flute and began to play a mystic melody. All of a sudden, a flash of light appeared right in front of them, and it seemed to have revealed a cat-like figure with a purple dress and a purple hat. "Lavinia, my dear," she said. Lavinia then rubbed her eyes to look at the gowned cat. Recognizing the figure was almost immediately. "Mother?" Lavinia asked. "Is that you?" Of course, my child, Lucy said. Oh, Mother, Lavinia cried as she hugged her tightly, while sharing her mother and daughter a moment. That's wonderful, Boken sniffled as he began to cry. Boken, are you okay? Charmy asked while checking his friend. I'm fine, Boken said. I just got a little something in my eyes. Espio saw this and took out his handkerchief. Here, Boken, he said, offering his hanky. Use it to dry your eyes. The robot took Espio's handkerchief and blew on it, and then, before wiping the tears away, Thanks, Espio, he said, handing Espio back his hanky. As soon as the chameleon got it back and noticed snot on it. Gee, thanks, Espio said in disgust. Feeling better? Charmy asked. Yeah, Boken answered. I'm okay now. As soon as Lucy turned to Lavinia's twin sister, Katerina, she bowed her head to the queen. Your Majesty, she greeted. Lucy then smiled and said, My dear Katerina, you've grown up so fast like your older sister. Yeah, I guess you could say that I've learned a lot from my sister, Katerina chuckled. Lavinia then giggled and nodded her head in agreement. At that moment, Sonic walked up to Lucy. Hey, Lucy, he said. Long time no see. The Cat Queen smiled at the blue hedgehog and shook his head. It's so good to see you again, Sonic, she said. Sonic kissed Lucy by the hand and bowed to her. Doesn't mean to me every now and then, Amy mentioned, but of course he turned to the pink hedgehog and looked at her with a smirk. You're right, Ames, Sonic said. In that case of kissing more like this. He then grabbed Amy and dipped her and then kissed her romantically. Within an instant, Lucy wanted to ask a question to Lavinia. She turned her head and asked, Since you've resurrected me, Lavinia, what seems to be the problem? Mother, the reason why I resurrect you is because of our father, Lavinia said. Your father? Lucy asked. Dad joined the Eggman Empire. It was a way to hunt for me and Lavinia, Katerina explained. He wants us to make us his slaves forever to rule the kingdom with Trinity, fear, and hate, Lavinia added. Their mother lowered her head in sadness. Which is why we're planning to go to the Cat Kingdom and bring down your husband's establishment and Egg Empire, Sonic stated. The tears began to roll down from her eyes and cheeks. I'm speechless, Lucy said. I can't believe that I married an ungrateful tyrant. Before you girls were born, I've dreamed about having a kingdom of peace and happiness. But since my husband and their king is nothing more than a manipulative, cruel man, we're sorry that he betrayed you, Your Highness, Tails said, handing the Cat Queen a tissue. It's okay, Lucy said, taking the tissue to wipe her tears away. Thank you, Tails. The young fox gasped with such a surprise and asked, How did you know my name? How? Your friend Sonic told me a lot about you and the rest of your friends, Lucy explained. Well, in that case, what's my name? Knuckles said, deciding to put the Cat Queen's to the test by having her guess his name. Oh, that's easy, That's easy to say, Lucy said. Your name is Knuckles. Hearing what his girlfriend's mother said, the astronaut was quite cheered. Yes! Now then, Lavinia began, we must go to the Cat Kingdom and bring down Father's establishment for the Egg Empire. He must be stopped, Katerina added. Besides, we have no time to waste. Yes, my dears, Lucy said, nodding her head. We must stop your father and give his kingdom to his citizens justice. So what are we waiting for? Sonic announced. Let's get moving. With that said, everyone made their way out of the Mystic Ruins temple and continued their journey to the Cat Kingdom. They knew that this day was going to be another long one indeed.